extend a very sincere warm welcome to all of you present here for the short-term training program on emotional intelligence for teaching staff in enhancing efficiency of students. Participants, today's session is about how to build empathy. Amidst us, we have a vibrant speaker, Dr. Senthil Murugan, Professor, Christ College from Bangalore. I welcome you, sir, and I would extend my thanks for accepting our invitation, sir. So, to introduce our speaker, now I would like to call upon our head of the department, Dr. P. Priyadarshini, ma'am. I welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Kavita. So, good afternoon, participants, for joining with us for the afternoon session. Today, as Kavita gave a very right and apt word for Dr. Senthil Murugan, is a vibrant speaker. Yes, he's really a vibrant speaker, and he has been with the industry for a decade, and he has been with leading organizations like Indian Express, and out of his passion for teaching, he has become a professor right now. And we were fortunate enough to work together for around 5 to 6 years. So what is the speciality about Sendal Murugan sir is like, he's very much known for his delivery, and he is popular among the students for his empathetical skills. So when the topic was briefed on about building empathy in classroom, the first person who came into my mind was Dr. Sendal Murugan. So in being in Chennai, we used to have a different culture of students, and even we have a rural students coming up, and we have students coming up from city, and we have a mixed group of students as our college is located in the outskirts. So what is that is any problem with the student community, or like even if it is a rough guy, or even if it is a smart guy, or even if it is a hard work guy, the first person the students will approach, or any faculty will be approaching, is to Mr. Sendil Murugan. I think Kavita is nodding for it. Yes, that's how it is. So he's very much known for his empathy towards these students and handling the students in a better way. So he's a right person, and he has recently has completed his doctorate, and he has published several papers in Scopus journals. And right now he's with Christ University in Bangalore. And it is my pleasure and privilege in welcoming you as a speaker of this session, sir. Thank you for joining in the midst of your hectic schedule of online classes. And I know you took a lot of pain in preparation for this session. Thank you, sir. And the forum is yours. Over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kavita ma'am, Dr. Priyadarshini ma'am, for your exquisite and comprehensive introduction about me. I'm really overwhelmed about your introduction. Good evening, all. I feel very pleasure, honored, and really privileged to be one of resource person of this series of talks on AICT sponsored short-term program on emotional intelligence of teaching staff in enhancing effectiveness of student. Really, I feel very privileged to honor to participate in this session as one of the resource person. I convey my sincere thanks to Dr. Priyadarshini ma'am, the HOD, Department of Management Studies of Tagore Engineering College. I also extend my thanks to the principal and management of Tagore Engineering College. Thank you. Yes, so today I'm going to talk about building empathy in the classrooms, right? When we want to talk about empathy, I'm not a teacher of having 2 or 3 decades of teaching experience to portray exactly what is empathy is. Right, I'm just having around a decade of experience in teaching. I just completed my 10th years of teaching a few months back. I'm going to portray certain things, certain insight based on the literature available. And some famous quote about classroom empathy in the internet sources. So therefore, if there is any contrary, or if there is any mismatch based on our Indian conditions, or if you find that that certain insight or fact is not appropriate for your institution, kindly bear with me, because empathy is one we can't practice universally. So there is no universal practice for classroom empathy is concerned. It will be vary from individual to individual, and the policy of the educational institutions. So my insight today is based on certain literature about classroom empathy available in the internet sources. So I'm going to deliver only on the basis of that perspective, along with limited knowledge of mine. If you have any differences, or if you find any fact which is contrary to the present situation of yours, kindly let me know later part of this session. I might provide my clarification on that part. Right. So with that note, let me take you all to my talks. Give me a minute for sharing my PPT. Well, I hope my slide is visible to you all. Right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Right. When I begin my session, I'm take you to asking a couple of questions. Question in the sense, I'm not really expecting answer from your end. So what I request you, you just recollect and generate your answer for these questions. Then let me tell about my view about those questions. Then we will compare our insight. I guess my thought and your answer will be matched towards these two questions, right? First question is, you think back your best teacher during your school or college days. You just imagine what made them as a good teacher. You just take a minute. You just think about your best teacher during your college and school days. Really, what made them to be a good teacher in those days, right? Um, right. I guess you would be thinking about their teaching capability, their sound knowledge in their domain, the way in which they are teaching the concept in an easy manner. Along with you would also think that I think their personal skills, such as uh, their responsiveness, their listening to your queries, answering to your queries, kindness, their kindness, compassion, the way in which they show humility, integrity, etc. Right. So if you think about a good teacher, I think most of you would have thought about your best teacher during your schools or college days. So when you're thinking about a good teacher, apart from their professional skills, such as their sound knowledge in the domain, their communication skill, their expertise in the area, you would have also considered about their kindness, their responsiveness, their listening skill for your queries and answering for your queries, the what extent they would have showed a kind of compassion to you. So everything would have added to your thought. As a result of those personal skills, you would have endorsed that particular person as best teacher in your life, isn't it? So professional skill alone, we wouldn't have considered for a good teacher capability or good teacher trait, right? We would have considered their personal skills, as I mentioned, a few skills, right. Am I right if I'm not wrong? Okay. All right. Then let me take you to the second question. you think back one of your best teaching experiences you had in your teaching experiences. You just think back one of your best teaching momentum you had during your session, very recent, or even it may be 5 years or 7 years, even 10 years before. You just think about it. What made it as a good experience? What made it as good experience, right? um, I guess it might be one of your favorite topic in the particular subject, or it could have been a topic in which you may be master of it. You know the real-time scenario related to that particular topic, or the topic may be based on the research you carried out for your MPhil or PhD, right? Because of that, you would have been mastered in that particular topic along with your students. Then, apart from that, I guess a few more things we need to consider. That session would have been the memorable one for you, because one thing would have been that the students during that particular session, students were more interactive with you. The student would have asked several intelligent questions, and you would have also answered all the questions very diligently. So end of the session, you felt absolute content and satisfaction with the session, right? So you just imagine, I think most of you would have thought that kind of situation when you thought about your excellent momentum in your teaching experiences. No such session, any session, even though we master of that particular topic, we may be very expertise and familiar about one particular topic. Our deliverance was so excellent, but if we did not get any kind of reply or interactions or reflections from the students at the end of the session, there may be some dissatisfaction for us, because the one-way communication wouldn't have created that much effective in our teaching. But whereas the session in which student would have reflected their thought in correlations with our topic, if they had interacted with us, if they had asked several questions, and we would have also answered everything in a diligent manner, then the feel we have during that time would be the memorable one for us, isn't it? So if you think that something, the best teaching and empathetical teacher is one, we used to get right kind of interaction with our students. So it's all about relationship we maintain with our students. If you do not maintain very good relationship with our student, they may not come for any kind of questions or interaction with us. We can't think that that particular session is effective. When we practice empathy in our teaching, students also will feel free to interact with us. They may ask several questions related to our topic. The session will go in a two-way communication. So we feel that that particular session was really good. So the fact is that when the students are interactive, and the students are asking more questions, when we are able to maintain very good interaction and relationship with them, the level of learning will be more effective. The effective learning will happen when we have the strong interactions with our students. Not only that, when we have very good relationship with our students, that will not only enhances our session, it's also uplift our in their it will strengthen their focus about our institutions. So when we have very good conversations and interaction with our students, the way in which students look about our institution will be different. So that will strengthen the image of our institutions among the students communities. So that will also help us to uplift our their academic progresses as well, right? So before to talk about empathy in teaching, I just want to cite some of the quote from the Carl Rogers from his popular books, Freedom to Learn and Way of Being. If you go through his popular quotes in his book Freedom to Learn, the high degree of empathy in a relationship is possibly the most potent factor in bringing about change and learning. The second one, empathetic teachers have more positive self-concept, more are more self-disclosing to their students, responds more to students' feelings, give more praise, are more responsive to students' ideas, and lecture less often. Very interestingly, look at the last line, they lecture very often. So instead that he strongly Karl Rocker strongly emphasized that rather than lecturing, taking care about our students, students respond, students feelings, understanding their queries, give more price is a more important. So with that background, I'll take you to the basic meaning of empathy. Basic meaning of empathy. If we go through the dictionary, we can find that empathy is a profound feeling plus merciful action, supportive companionship in distress. In general, we can say that a deep understanding of the feelings of others. So I don't think that this particular meaning is sufficient for understanding the empathy in a broader perspective. Moreover, when we talk about classroom empathy, we need to have more information about, more technical information about empathy. Therefore, I take you to technical explanation about empathy for another 5 minutes. Kindly burden, because it is, I felt that it is necessary for talking about a classroom empathy. Therefore, I just take you some technical explanation about it before I'm moving forward for classroom empathy, right? So first, let us see how empathy is differing from sympathy. So sympathy is when you understand how and why a person feel like they do, but you are not in their position. Means that, for instance, let me explain that with a situation. Um, um, uh, I take you to a hypothetical situation, like one of your close friends, one of your very close friend, father or mother is expired, right? You want to attend that particular condolence. You just visiting his home. You meet that particular friend and express your feelings and sadness. You just consoling him. You spend few minutes with him. Then you returned, right? So now you also understand, you also understood your friend's feeling. Then you consoled him. You share your sadness, your concern with your friend. Then you returned, right? This we consider as sympathy, because we understand another person's feeling. We also consoled by some words, so we returned, right? But instead of that, you just went there, you met your friend, you deliver some consoling words, you also crying with him, you hugged him, you crying with him. Then you stay with him. You are carrying out some work along with his relatives. You staying there for another 2 days or 3 days with your friend, because your friend, that friend is a very close friend. You just staying with your friend. You also undertook some work along with his relatives. Then you returned. You returned to your home. Then for next to 15 days, you continuously make a call to him. You call to him on morning and evening. You just inquiring his state of mind and talk to him. So this is a different kind of notion. This we can say that empathy. This we can say that empathy, but this is not exactly good for understanding the clear meaning of empathy. If you really want to know the empathy, we have to go Dr. Elizabeth S. Egan's word. So according to Dr. Elizabeth S. Egan, we can classify the empathy into two types. One is affective empathy, another one is cognitive empathy. When we talk about affective empathy, right? If you happen to see one person suddenly he is crying, but you do not know why that particular person is crying, you don't know the meaning of reason for that particular person's crying, but you also feel like crying. Sometimes some people immediately started crying as soon as they see some person is crying, right? This is some kind of physiological process in our brain, because our network our neural network started simulating other persons without knowing the reason. So this is called affective response. This is called affective response because this happens involuntarily, automatically, and unconsciously, almost unconsciously. We can't say that all people will react to that one when they happen to see one person in front of them is crying. But in certain situation, our brain simulate the others feeling, others experiences. We also, without knowing the reasons, involuntarily and automatically we started crying as soon as we saw one person is crying in front of us. So this is affective response. I'm not saying affective empathy, it is affective response. um, um, there is one more process happens. It is called mentalizing. Mentalizing means that normally some people will not cry as soon as they see an acquaintance or a person is crying in front of them. They will take certain time. They slowly they try to know the reason for that particular person's crying. So they know the initially they get to know what is the reason for that person is crying. So they come to know the event or some incident that really made him to cry. So after heard the event or incident which made him to cry, then these people also started crying after they came to know the reason behind that particular person's crying. This is called mentalizing. It is a certain extent advanced stage of affective response, right? If you see the affective empathy process, as you can see the graph, we get affected by environmental stimulus. Normally, our physiological process is happening when we get some environmental stimulus. So the environmental stimulus have or sadness or fear or happiness, sad by your friend or your acquaintance or someone in front of you, or some motions like graphing, hitting, advancing, returning. So these kind of motions also the reason for our physiological processing happening in our brain. So we get some input from environmental environment through some person. So when we see some person is doing something, so he is experiencing or feeling something. Let us assume that for in this context we take as crying. So the person is crying. So uh, the person could be known to you, or sometimes he may be new to you. But somehow, even if he doesn't know to you, if he is not known person to you, some extent his appearance or his age or his group may be similar to you. So you might think that you might perceive his feeling in your point of view, right? When the perception and action is matching between you and that particular person, immediately you tend to show certain kind of response. One response could be, as I mentioned earlier, it could be affective response. As soon as you see that particular person is crying without knowing the reason, you will also started crying. We would have seen, even we would have done that in several occasions. Some of you might have done that several occasions when we see when we show pity on some person, or if we happen to see a young boy is begging in the street or somewhere, we would have done that or something, right? So that is affective responses. Then later, as I said, in certain extent, we try to know the reason for that particular person's crying. Then we may cry, or we may also experience the same kind of feeling. It's also called mirroring. As I said earlier, when your brain also simulated to others feeling, then it is called mirroring. But empathy is something different from this basic affective response, right? If you really want to know about empathy, we need to know about these cognitive processing, these three cognitive processing. SOA means self others awareness, PT perspective taking, and ER means emotional regulations. So first, let me explain what is SOA, self other awareness. Yes, now it is mirrored. You also indulged. You also under the influence of affective response. You also crying right now. If you process it, though you are experiencing the similar feeling of your friend or your known person is experiencing, at the time you will very much aware about yourself and others, means that something has happened for only your friend or only for your known person. Let us assume, let us take it as a friend. Something has happened only for your friend, not for you. So though you are feeling in the same way of your friends experiencing, but you aware about yourself and others, it's not happened for you. So it is a stage that differentiate the feeling you are experiencing and feeling is being experienced by your friend. Then come to next, this is perspective taking. Now you almost cried out, you know very well that it did not happen for you, it happened for only the other person, say your friend, right? You cried out, you also expressed your feeling. Now you go to the next level, means that it happened for friend. So you are thinking about what can be done for your friend, or whether you go for consoling him, whether you are going for assisting him, or whether you are doing something in order to restore him from the existing situation. That is that kind of. So this will allow you to process next level of empathy. So you will not remain crying with your friend for expressing the feelings. As soon as you finish crying, then you thinking about the next level. That is called perspective taking. So you approach that particular issue or the particular distress in different perspective, not in your friend's perspective. You are looking that particular distress situation in your perspective. That is called perspective taking. Then emotional regulation, it is something different stage. I don't think that all the individual will have same kind of emotional regulations. Some people are very very weak and feeble, some people are very strong. Some people quickly quickly show the affective response. Some people are do not overwhelmed by any kind of distress situations. The level, the degree of emotional regulations will be vary from person to person. If the person is very strong in his or her emotional regulations, he or she doesn't cry for any kind of distress situation, because any kind of situation will not make him or her in a breaking situations or in a crying situations. So they simply sort out of it. They just remove that emotional emotional inputs. Then they think about in different manner, right? So if you see the outcome, these are the important cognitive processing when we processing the affective or affective inputs which is coming from our environment. So what will be the outcome? So the first outcome, they empathetically feel what another is feeling. It's the immediate outcome. You would show affective resonance. You do not know why that particular person is crying. You do not understand the reason, but you also respond similarly to that particular person's response. Then conscious empathy. So here you know about SOA, self and others awareness. And here after learned about all the things behind that particular person's distress situation, you will also react. That is a conscious empathy. This will lead to further actions later. In case if SOA and PT, if the four factors, if these four factors are lagging or weak, then you have emotional contingence, not an empathy. It's something like it's an emotional we can say emotional disease rather than empathy. We simply show emotions, it doesn't going to produce any kind of outcome. Then third one is, if ER is lagging, if emotional regulation is lagging or weak, then we have personal distress instead of empathy. So we will remain revolving in that particular distress. It is very very difficult for us to come out of that tedious situations. So this is actually cognitive processing, cognitive empathy. We just come out of, everyone will get affected, no doubt. Everyone will have a feeling. We will have a feeling of understanding others. But the level in which we are coming out of it to the next level of, next level of action is called cognitive processing. So we will think, like I said, if the person is crying, then you try to console, he will try to help him, or you will make certain actions, you make him to come out of that particular situations. So that is empathetic actions. So when we talk about classroom empathy, we need to have more cognitive empathy rather than affective empathy, because as a teacher we are master in everything. When we are thinking in cognitive way, we will be able to provide a solution to our students issues, right? So I've been talking very quite more than 20 to 25 minutes. I just show you a video. It's an excellent video. Through that video you can understand what is really empathy is. I guess most of you would have come across about that video, because it is not a specially designed video for empathy. It is one of the very good commercial of British airline. Most of you would have come across that, but no issue. You can watch it again. We can see the video in empathy perspective. You can learn certain things out of it. I'm not going to take cognitive empathy, because I explained that in the previous slide itself. Just I play the video for you all. It's a quite lengthy video. It will take 5 to 6 minutes. Kindly bear on it.
I was told last month I'd be flying the India sector. My maiden flight to India. There are a million questions in my mind. There are so many languages, so many cultures. It's such a massive country.
We couldn't hear the.
Oh, one moment, ma'am. Let me check. What is it? Sorry.
I'll be flying the India sector. My maiden flight to India. There are a million questions.
Could you please someone guide me how to enable the audio, because I'm not very familiar with the Zoom. It will be nice if someone tell me the.
You can raise your volume. Morning also it happened.
Okay, ma'am. Then I do that.
I was told last
Increase your volume.
I'd be flying the India sector.
Yeah,
Is it
we
audible?
could
ma'am?
hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Flight to India. There are a million questions in my mind. There are so many languages, so many cultures. It's such a massive country.
What is often served on this road would be a vegetarian alternative.
I mean, I'm excited, but I'm more nervous than excited.
महिलाओं सेक्शन नमस्कार आप सबका इस उड़ान जो कि लंदन हीथ्रो से हैदराबाद के लिए रवाना होगी पर स्वागत आपसे निवेदन है अपने साथ लाया हुआ हाथ का सामान अपने सामने वाली कुर्सी के नीचे या अपने ऊपर वाली लॉकर में सुरक्षित रखें धन्यवाद
Oh, here, let me help you with this.
Thank you.
Prepare for takeoff. Doors to arm and cross check.
Let me help you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you okay? Oh, you're crying. Is something happened? Is there a problem? Are you in any pain? I can.
I miss my son.
Look, we're not in the same position, but I really do understand. You know,
When you miss someone, you miss someone. But look on the bright side. Think of your family back in Hyderabad. They miss you too. And I bet they're so excited to meet you. Yeah? Look, why don't we take your mind off things? Put on a good movie. Okay? So, let's pop these in. Right? Right. You can tell me which one. That one? Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Oh, and I'll get you a nice cup of tea. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
When are you going back?
Oh, 2 days.
You have to come to my house.
Oh, no, I can't.
No, you have to come to my house. This is
Oh,
my
no,
son's
really? I
car.
can't come to your house.
Tomorrow is my festival day.
I
You
can't.
have to, please. Please come.
Okay, I'll try.
You have to come.
I never thought I'd go, but there was something in her smile, you know, that childlike persuasion, that I actually found myself going.
Oh, hi. You are Helena, right?
Oh, you know my name.
Oh, yes. Please come. Oh, look at him.
Yes, I'm baby.
You make it cold.
I got them.
You got it.
How it is? It's delicious, yum.
It's spicy.
It's okay. What's
Spicy.
It's my favorite.
This home food for you. Don't eat hotel food. This is healthy food for you.
Thank you.
This is for you. And this is from me.
Thank you.
Take care.
I've been flying to India for 2 years now. It's a feeling I cannot describe. The more I discover, the more I fall in love.
Well, that particular video was, it's a very good example which portrayed several occasions where the empathy was displayed by both of the subject, both of the character. Let it be that young lady or that elderly woman, both shown their empathy equally. But one area where I inspired is that when when the elderly woman was crying about thinking about his missing son from UK or USA. She immediately reacted. The hair hostess immediately reacted. She diverted her attentions, making her to watch some movie. So that area was really a good example how one person diligently behave, rather than indulge in the same kind of feeling. Immediately she gave a solution to come out of that particular situation. Then you would have seen that that elderly woman slept very calmly. So that area, so this particular video is absolutely a portrayal of empathy of both the character, showing empathy mutually by the both the characters, right? It's a time to turn our focus towards classroom empathy. Sorry for taking much of time to describing the general empathy, because I felt that was needed, right? So let us look some academic researchers view about classroom empathy. The first one is from Mr. Parker, Dr. Parker. He said that the connection made by good teachers are held not in their methods but in their hearts, the place where intellect and emotions and spirit will converge. Let me take you to another researcher, Horace Mann's quote: "The best teacher teach from the heart, not from the book." Then, interestingly, another one from Nietzsche: "The empathy may be the one of those necessary, though largely unexamined traits that define good teaching." So, with this quotes, I take you to the classroom empathy. First, let's see how to build empathy in our classroom and institutions. Empathy is not an easy task, or it's not an easy skill to practice. If we really want to practice it in our classroom experience, we must be very focused, and importantly, we should deliberately intention towards showing empathy. Really, it's a time to educational institutions and teachers to understand the impact of empathy, because empathy is not only creating a right kind of society, it maintains and balances very good empathetical minds in our culture. The problem is, our culture does not value the empathy. The problem is, our culture really does not value the empathy. When you could create empathetic minds among the students community, we can really harvest a very good environment in our society. We can see a society without any violence, haterness, abuse, crime, etc. But the thing is that empathy in education is often deemed to be soft skill. But sometimes people considering empathy is something like pampering the students, or they they consider that in case in certain situation, if a teacher is showing empathy on students, the other people may think that a teacher is a weak person, he's not stuff enough. So that is why he is simply showing empathy on his students communities, right? Moreover, if you think that sometimes empathy is labeled as a specific trait related to one specific gender, so other gender will not show empathy because it is not my trait, it is a gender of others. I don't want to pinpoint any gender. It could be either of it, sometimes male or sometimes female. In a male dominated in a male dominated situation, they may find out females. In a female dominated situation, they may find out male. Here I'm not getting into any kind of controversy by labeling one particular gender is having more empathetical traits. It's simply avoiding the empathical attitude towards our students. Moreover, if you see um, uh, everyone is not burning with empathetical skills. It is not our inherent skill, and we are not predisposed to exhibit empathy always. But one thing is that we are not incapable of showing empathy. Only thing is that we need to take deliberate intention for exhibiting empathy towards our students, and we should be very blamed. The main reason for empathy doesn't happen in our classroom environment. Initially, when we start our academic year, we will be very focused on divert different group of students. Uh, we think about differences in students community. We think about their uh, uh, different cultures. We think about slow learners, medium learners, and high level learners. So we conduct some programs initially when we start academic year. We do some we give orientations. We try to know each and every students individually. We help them by explaining certain things. Everything is happening only in the beginning of the academic year. Once the lesson plan is due, once we started rest of academic year, uh, as a teachers, we forget everything. We will be running on completing our portions, completing portions, then thinking about assignments, conducting exams, then evaluations, guiding, writing research, attending conferences, and working for our students' placement. So, because of the continuous regular work, tend to forget the empathy on our students. Really, empathy on our students. So initially we give some orientations. We try to know individually about our students, their diverse backgrounds, different backgrounds. We may plan and form a certain kind of plan to cater three kind of learners. Let it be slow learners or medium learners uh, easy learners. But over the period of once we indulge it into our regular work, we completely I'm not blaming that, but we don't have time. We do not find time to concentrate our students individually. So what does it makes? Due to lack of time, we succumb to go for some generalizations and assumption about our students. So we may have the instead of focusing them individually, we follow certain assumptions based on some test result or the students interaction with in the classroom environment. We have our own assumptions about students, so that we will categorize the students on the basis of generalizations. We never take sufficient effort to understand the students individually. So that's the first problems most of us having, most of us lacking when we trying to show empathy on our students. When we talk about empathy, but without empathy, we cannot understand the student, diverse students and communities we serve. We need to know them. Lack of understanding lead to some misunderstanding about that. A misunderstanding about individual students that is not a right thing to carry out students. Um, so if you have a mindset without intentional empathy, that narrow our focus and prevent us from accurately identifying the barriers to learn from our students. So here we fail to identify who is the slow learner, who is the medium learner, and who is the easy learner. um, when we are fail to show empathy, and when we fail to have right kind of understanding and relationship with the students, we completely forget about that, and we treat all the students equally. So that seriously affect their learning capability and expose it to certain other things. Then if we talk about mindset, um, simply the content knowledge, we can easily understand the students caliber on the basis of their content knowledge, and concrete skills can be assessed with answer keys and rubrics. But it is difficult to assess the empathy level. So we need to show empathy in the classroom, then only they will become a very good citizens. Then they tend to show empathy in their external environment. Everything can be measured. All the academic performance can be measured by their test and assessment, but empathy cannot be measured. So we are a teacher. We have to cultivate empathy among our student community. So let us see how empathy can be cultivated among students community. If you see, first thing is modeling. Modeling is not an easy task, and is difficult to follow. But modeling will help us to nurture empathetical mind among our students community. So what is modeling? As Rokas pointed out, first teacher should have strong self-concept, and he should be easy to self-disclosing. So modeling, first we should be an example for our students. We should be an example for our students. If you are not very good example for students, student can't learn. Say for example, you should consider our student as co-learner. We should be very humble with the students, and we should be very humble with the students, and even if you get some form of we should go with calm with students. But sometimes you may think that student will not reciprocate, even if you are showing modeling of our own belief and behavior. Student may not reciprocate immediately, but we should not take it, we do not get dejected with that kind of behavior from the students. Even though if you behave very humble and polite, and if you show more comparisons to students, you can't get any result very immediately from the students. But it's a time to reaffirm your your mental level. Again, you should go. You should show the same kind of attitude and behavior continuously, though you do not get proper response or reciprocal from the students end. Again, you take that as a second opportunity. You be with them, remain calm, remain polite. You just tell them how a person you are. So if you consistently maintain that kind of attitude and behavior as a teacher, in one point in time you can find that gradually and slowly the behavioral changes in your students. So you before that, you should be very consistent about your pre-actions and reactions, and you should concretely show to the students that this is a person I am, right? At any circumstances, even if you do not get a proper response from that, even if they mock at you, you shouldn't go back to your formal level. You should show that this is a person I am. When you exhibit that kind of attitude consistently, one point in time, you can certainly witness gradual changes, at behavioral changes in your student community. So first and foremost, to cultivating empathy in our classroom, first we should be a modeling to our students. Other than that, even if you teach or instruct about empathy, it won't make any impact in the student's mind, unless otherwise we are not be a modeling to our students. Then when the student seems to upset and the teacher take time, no matter how inconvenient, it is quite common, right? The adult students and teenagers sometimes upset, they may have different problem. When they appear to be upset, not interactive with us, then we must understand that they are fighting with their personal things, right? So it is not wrong, and you need to give some additional time privately, rather than telling anything with him. We can keep him aside, and you can spend some time personally to the students, and you can talk to him. You should clearly, your eye contact should be very straight, and you can try to understand, and you should try to understand his feelings, and you can give some a solution for his problem. It is not at all wrong to spend certain time to students in order to understand him. But our fraternity is always busy with several works. But if we really want to nurture empathy, then we have to spend certain time to students to understand their feelings. Then when we're working with the students who is in emotional state, we should remember that as adult, we usually have the coping mechanism and experience to recognize and handle those emotions. But we cannot expect the same from the students, because we are experienced people. We know different kind of feelings, because we have come across those situations. So we can find a mechanism to solve that. But they will not come to any kind of, even when you are telling something, they won't accept your advice, or they won't accept your word, because they normally they used to have lack of understanding about that particular mechanism. So they should understand, only we teach about those mechanism. Unless otherwise we teach them clearly, they do not understand, and they are likely to show rigid and rough behavior against that situations, right? Then switching over the mindset, sometimes teachers are irritated. As a result of that, they show the anger at students. When we are lost our temper, certain consequences happen. But again, here it is understandable because we spend plenty of time for our preparations, activities, assignments. So 2 hours, 3 hours preparation just required for 45 minutes lecturing, right? So when we do that enthusiastically, if we get some kind of disturbances or some rudely behavior from students, it is very difficult for us to control our temper. But empathy teacher is one. Somehow we have to control our temper. We try to understand because we also I reiterate that we also came from that kind of situations. So we try to understand. We should not behave very quickly. I'm not saying that we should not react. There should be some difference between our reactions and students reactions. As we are preparing for our lesson, as we are preparing for lesson, our reactions also should take time, right? We shouldn't behave impulsively like student, because they don't have that much temper or consistency to behave. But we should also, when we are reacting to the students, we should show fluent and some kind of conscious reactions. So the reactions could be based on the situation, based on the students accents, students age, students gender, and the convenient level with the teachers and students. So based on that, we should take some corrective actions for the students. So here what I'm insisting is, it is very common that we get irritated, we get disturbed during our class time. But only thing is, the way we are going to react should be very cautious and slow. It's not, it shouldn't be like very impulsive and fast one. And before taking certain app, certain actions, we need to consider the situations, his situations, his nature, everything. Then we take a certain reaction to that particular students. Sometimes one embarrassing moment is that sometimes we make mistake while writing on the board or in our document. Some student would have found that and corrected it in front of all the students. It's a really embarrassing moment for all the teachers, right? I'm not saying that no exception, but we should honorably accept that. We should honorably accept that and take the situation. We should accept that and to take the situation very freely and commonly, right? We should accept and confine about our mistake. So that will end with that. Sometimes if student doing something, we should be very careful in punishing them. We shouldn't deliver any harsh word in front of other students. So it is better to take them privately and advise him, rather than scolding at him or delivering some harsh word in front of all the students. Because for us, the classroom environment is essential than one particular student's behavior. We should not get affected ourselves, and other students also should not get affected by that mischievous behavior of the students. So now let me tell you in how ways we can placing empathy in our curriculum. If you really want to um, 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 uh, uh, explicitly to teach about empathy to empathical mind to our students, we must include it in the curriculum. But when I'm saying about including empathy in the curriculum, you will be feeling that you already have different stuffs, different extracurriculars. Having a separate subject like empathy or emotional intelligence, some institutions already have a separate subject as emotional intelligence, but I'm not talking about that. But thing is that you don't need to be feel burdened by having one more subject or including one more subject as in your curriculum to teach empathy as separately. What is suggested in the literature, in popular literature, you can teach your existing subject in a empathetical situation, in correlating with the empathetical case, right? Say for example, in the case of language art, right, you can, when you are teaching different, it could be science or it could be arts or management subject, anything. When you're teaching a subject, when you're teaching your subject, you can bring empathetical aspects in your existing subject itself. Say for example, when you're reading out a certain character, when you're reading out certain character, or in business classroom situation, when you are conducting case studies, you just take one particular character or one or few characters and ask the students it may be the case is related to leadership, or the case is related to conflict, or case is related to something else. But when we are teaching the case, here we can also include empathetical perspective. Like you may ask questions along with other questions. You may have some different questions related to that particular topic, but along with that particular topic you can include a empathetical question also, one of the questions. So here in the case, you may ask a student which character is most empathetic in this case situation, or you may show some movie, or you may talk about some stories. Within the stories you may ask students, along with other questions, you may ask students which characters so exhibited high level of empathy, and which character exhibited very low level of empathy, like that. So when you do that, indirectly we can teach empathy along with our existing curriculum. We no need to seek any separate curriculum, a separate empathetical curriculum to teach empathy for our students. Similarly, design thinking model. So design thinking model, right? Let it be a case or movie or character. Again, you can ask the students. To identify the problem situation. Identify the problem situation in the case. Then you can ask what is their the problematic case. In the case you can identify the problem. In the particular problem, you can ask what kind of feeling would have been. Say for example, if you are you're teaching a case about your defect sales situation, your defect sales situations, right? Your customer is completely dissatisfied with your defective product, right? So when you are teaching like that, you may ask ask the questions in empathetic manner, like describe. You may ask the students to describe the feelings and the problem faced by that particular customer. What would be the solution for customer? So when you include questions, which will make him to design, which will make him to think in a problematic situation, and the solution for that situation also help us to indirectly teach empathy in our existing curriculum. Then public speaking. So whenever you find time to ask your students presentation, you can ask some real-time problem situations, when you can ask them to present their problems, their empathy level, what could be the solution, etc. Right? So in public speaking, you can ask any character, or even sometimes even you can take one of other class members who might have some problem. So you may ask another student to describe his situations, what would be the solution to avoid those kind of things, etc. So through presentation, you can also impart empathical aspects in your teaching. Then finally, the behavioral management, right? So when we are conducting orientations in the beginning of the academic year or later, we may give some hypothetical situations to the students about some projected problem, or a projected worst scenario. Then we can ask the students to play a role. We can make students to role play, right? What would be the solution for that hypothetical problems? What extent the involved characters should show empathy, should show considerations to avoid those kind of problems? What will be the solution to present to avoid those kind of problems occurs in the futures? So that is how we can also through role play and behavioral management system, we can teach empathy to our students. So this part I don't want to take. This is more applicable for school students than adult students. So when we are teaching empathy, first and foremost thing we have to give about empathetical listening. That is important for teachers. Concentrate more on empathetical listening. First, we should keep our opinion to ourselves. Means that we should not spread our opinion or someone else's opinion to the students. We should listen, in the sense that we should listen to the students. We should focus on others rather than self. Eye contact is very important, because eye contact will make the students to understand that we are giving so much attention and interest towards students' problems, and we should see their perspective. Always we should not think in our perspective. Whenever we started thinking about someone person's, you would have heard about the popular phrase when we talk about empathy, you are standing in others' shoe. You might have come across this phrase, very popular phrase. So we should always see in students' perspective. Then whenever we want to pause, we should pause and give more attention to listening. Then very importantly, we need to identify their feelings. Identifying feelings is important. Without understanding, without perceiving their exact feeling, we may not give any kind of solution to them. And students tend to express everything very short and sharp, so we should paraphrase their words. So they are normally they do not in a position to explain everything, or they sometimes their expression is incomplete. We should try to paraphrase their words and understand the real meaning behind that. And non-verbal communications, the non-verbal communications is very essential for one of the empathical moments. So let me quickly do one. When we teaching emotional intelligence, or when we taking a session on emotional intelligence or empathy, it won't get completed without conducting a self-assessment. So it is a simple self-assessment to identify our empathic level. I will not direct you to go for any online. If possible, you just take a pen and a paper, or you can also use mobile phones, mobile phone, to simply mark the choices for the questions going to be only yes or no. You may mark question number 1, yes or no, simply y or n. There are going to be 20 questions. I quickly roll out 20 questions to understand our empathical level. It's a small self-assessment to understand empathical level. So based on that, we can assess ourselves. You no need to disclose your result. I show the answer at the end of the questions are displayed. Then you can assess yourself, right? I hope you will be ready, right? You take a pen and paper if possible, or you can mark that in somewhere else, right? First questions: have I been labeled as overly sensitive, shy, or introverted? If you feel that you are such, you can mark y, or you can mark n. If you are not like that, you can mark 9. You are not like that, you can mark n, right? Let me go to the second one. Do I frequently get overwhelmed or anxious? So your answer, you please do mark, right? Third questions: do arguments or yelling make me ill? Mark your answer, either yes or no. Fourth one: do I often feel like I don't fit in? Fifth question: am I drained by crowds and need alone time to revive myself? Sorry.
So you don't have extreme options, only yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Only two options. Only two options.
What
Yes
about
or no?
sometimes? Maybe sometimes.
Yeah, I found that kind of scales, but that may not be suitable for our limited time. We have to go online for that. So it's a SART assessment to understand about ourselves. Am I overstimulated by noise, orders, or non-stop talkers? So hope you have answered your you have answered, marked your answer. Then let me go to the seventh question. Do I have chemical sensitivities or can't tolerate scratchy cloths? Do I prefer taking my own car places so I can leave early if I need to? Do I overeat to cope with stress? Am I afraid of becoming suffocated by intimate relationships? Do I shock easily? Do I react strongly to caffeine or medications? Caffeine, I hope you understand. Caffeine is a substance which is available in coffee, tea, even some carbonated health drinks, not health drinks, carbonated drinks. Do I have a low pain threshold? Do I tend to socially isolate? Do I observe other people's stress, emotions, and or symptoms? Am I overwhelmed by multitasking and prefer doing one thing at a time? Do I replenish myself in nature? Do I need a long time to recover after being with difficult people or energy vampires? Do I feel better in small cities or the country than large cities? Do I prefer one-to-one interactions or small groups rather than large gatherings? That's all. There are only 20 questions from my side. So hope all of you would have marked your answers. Now it's a time for checking our empathy level. It is a questions not related to classroom empathy. It's a general empathy. It's a time for checking our empathy level. Yes. If you answered yes to 1 to 5 questions, you are at least partially an empath. 6 to 10 questions, responding yes to 6 to 10 questions means you have moderate empathic tendencies. Then 11 to 15 means you have strong empathic tendencies. Answering more than 15 means that you are full-blown empathic persons. So hope you would have understood your empathic level based on this small assessment. So we need to go very a long time. As I mentioned here, deliberate intentions only cultivate empathy in the students community. So we need to be very intentional when we teach our lessons along with empathy. Then only we can cultivate empathy mindset among students community as well. So with that, I would like to wind up my session. Over to ma'am. These are the references I followed for this session. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very wonderful session. Yes, Kavita ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It was really informative, enlightening session, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Seriously, the video, everything was podcast, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your appreciation. I would like to answer the questions if any questions from audience side also.
Participants, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat or you can ask the resource person. No questions.
No questions, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
So, we had a very nice session, sir, and you did touch upon so many things, how to be empathetic towards students, and you gave a very good, illustration regarding modeling, like how we should be a model and how to handle the different students, and with good, interesting videos. So, thank you for your vibrant session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us for this session, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
ma'am.
a lot, sir.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. May I leave, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can leave.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, shall we close the meet, ma'am?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Thank you, participants. Yes, thank you, participants. And tomorrow we have a session by 11 tomorrow, and we have Professor KVJ Ganeshan sir as a speaker of the session, and we start by sharp 11. Thank you all.